You know, after 25 years on that bench, people always assumed I was made of steel, cold, sharp, no nonsense. And most days, they weren't wrong. I built a career on cutting through nonsense, on saying what others were too polite to say, on not letting anyone waste my time or play games in my courtroom. I was proud of that reputation. I still am. But there was one Tuesday morning in April that cracked something open in me that I wasn't expecting. A little girl walked into my courtroom holding her father's hand, and she said 4 words that stopped me cold. She said, "My daddy cries every night." And I, Judge Judy, the woman who has made grown men cry on national television without blinking, went completely silent. I want to tell you exactly what happened because this is a story I've been carrying for a long time. It's a story about love, about struggle, and about what justice actually means when you strip away all the pomp and procedure. And before I go any further, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because the stories I share on this channel are not the ones you'll see anywhere else. This is the real work. Stay with me. I spent 25 years on the family court bench in Manhattan before the television show. 25 years of seeing humanity at its most raw, custody battles, abuse cases, families falling apart, and sometimes, just sometimes, finding their way back together. People think courtrooms are cold places, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of them are. But mine never was. Sharp? Yes. Fast? Absolutely. I don't have patience for nonsense, never did. But cold? No. I grew up in Queens. My father was a dentist. My mother was a force of nature who could silence a room with one look, a talent I apparently inherited. I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a lawyer and then a judge. Not because I wanted power, but because I believed, deeply, genuinely believed that the law, used correctly, could be the greatest equalizer this country has. It could look a rich man and a poor man in the eye and treat them exactly the same. That idea lit me up at 15, and it never stopped. My husband, Jerry, has been beside me for decades. He is the steady hand to my quick temper, the patience to my impatience. He has talked me down from ledges and talked me back into rooms and never once asked me to be anything other than exactly who I am. That matters more than I can say. That particular Tuesday morning, I had a full docket. Traffic matters, small civil disputes, parking violations, the kind of cases that people dismiss as minor. I never dismiss them because here's what I learned early. To the person standing in front of you, nothing about their situation is minor. It is their life. It is happening to them right now. I was working through the morning when I looked at one file and paused. A man named Daniel Reyes, 3 unpaid parking violations, same street, always Tuesday or Thursday mornings, $45 each, $210 total with fees. On paper, unremarkable. But I have a nose for patterns, and that pattern told me there was a story. When his name was called, he walked in. Young man, early 30s, lean, tired around the eyes, wearing a button-down shirt that had been carefully ironed. I notice things like that. The effort people make to show up with dignity, I always notice that. And he was holding the hand of a little girl. She was maybe 4, maybe 5. Dark, curly hair with a yellow hair tie, little sunflower on it, white dress, blue flowers. And she was holding a stuffed rabbit pressed to her chest like it was the most important thing in the world. She was looking around my courtroom like she owned the place. Big eyes wide open, not scared at all, just curious. I've had children in my courtroom before. It happens. But something about this little girl stopped me before she said a single word. It was the way she was holding her father's hand, not the way a scared child holds on for comfort. She was holding his hand the way a protector holds on. This tiny person in a sundress was there to take care of her dad. I saw that in 3 seconds, and something in my chest moved. I said, "Good morning, you're Daniel Reyes." He said, "Yes, Your Honor." He looked me straight in the eye. I appreciate that. Don't come into my courtroom and stare at the floor. Look at me. I said, "And who is this?" He looked down at her and smiled the way only a parent smiles. That particular smile that breaks through even when everything else is hard. He said, "This is my daughter, Sophia." I looked at Sophia and said, "Good morning, Sophia." She looked right back at me very seriously and said, "Good morning, Judge," like she'd been rehearsing it. Like this was important business, and she was ready. I heard the ripple go through the courtroom, that little wave of warmth. Even my courtroom smiled. I looked at the file and said, "Mr. Reyes, 3 violations, same block, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Talk to me." He nodded. He said, Your Honor, I park there twice a week because it's the closest spot to the school where Sophia has her therapy program. She has a speech delay. The program runs 2 hours and 45 minutes. The parking limit is 1 hour. I can't leave her in the middle of a session. I can't afford the garage. It's $12 each time. I've looked for another solution. There isn't one. I put the file down. You stay the whole time? I asked. Yes, Your Honor. I wait outside, sometimes in the car, sometimes on the bench near the entrance. And work? I said. He paused. The way people pause when the answer is hard. He said, I was a line cook. The restaurant closed 3 months ago. I've been doing grocery delivery when I can get shifts. I'm trying. He said it quietly. No performance, no plea for sympathy, just a statement of fact from a man who was running out of runway and hadn't stopped moving. I know that look. I spent 25 years in family court. I have seen that look 10,000 times, and it never stopped meaning something to me. And then Sophia tugged on her father's hand. He looked down at her. She looked up at him with those enormous eyes. And then she looked straight up at me. No hesitation, no filter, just complete honesty. And she said, My daddy cries every night. I want to be clear about something. I am not a soft touch. I am not the judge who tears up at every sad story. I have been called ruthless. I have been called tough. I have been called a lot of things, most of them by people who deserved exactly what they got in my courtroom. But those 4 words from that little girl hit me somewhere that nothing had hit me in a very long time. I took my glasses off. I set them down on the bench. I pressed my fingers against my eyes for one moment because here's the thing about children. They don't know how to lie about what matters. They haven't learned yet. She wasn't strategizing. She wasn't trying to manipulate me. She didn't even fully understand what she was doing. She was just telling the truth the way children tell it, completely, cleanly, without apology. And the truth she was telling was about love, about watching her father carry something heavy and wanting someone to know. Now, let me stop here for just a second. If this story is already getting to you, and I have a feeling it is, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. I looked at Daniel Reyes. He was looking down at his daughter with an expression I recognized immediately. A father undone by how much his child sees, the love and the pain living in his face at the same time. He reached down and gently put his hand on her hair and said softly, It's okay, mija. I cleared my throat. I said, Mr. Reyes, you're carrying a lot right now. He looked up at me. His jaw tightened slightly. That thing people do when they are absolutely not going to fall apart in public. He said, Yes, Your Honor, but we're going to be okay. And I believed him. Not because things were easy, because I believed he was the kind of man who would make it true through sheer stubbornness. The iron shirt told me that. The way he stood told me that. The way he'd been showing up to that therapy center twice a week in all weather and sitting outside on a bench told me that. I looked at the file, $210. People hear that number and they think, that's nothing. And for some people, it is nothing. But I have sat across from enough people in enough courtrooms to know that for a man doing grocery delivery shifts to cover his rent, $210 is not a fine. It is a month of groceries. It is his daughter's shoes